All right, so we do have some new faces on the call, but I'll wait till item number 2 to go around and do that. So welcome to all of you to our 33rd meeting of the Cass Clay Food Commission. The first item on the agenda would be number 1A, to approve the order and contents of the overall agenda.
Deb White moves to approve.
Okay, a motion by White.
Second by Breitling.
A second by Breitling. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. Item 1B would be the review and action on minutes from January 13th. A copy, I believe, was sent out. Board wishes?
Deb White moves to approve.
Okay, we do have a motion to approve the minutes. Thank you.
Jeremiah seconding.
Okay, we have a second by Jeremiah. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Passes. Thank you. Our commission check-in. This is an opportunity for us to go around the table and share anything pertinent going on within your own jurisdiction. And kind of the same as item number 7, but if any other things come up top of mind at the end of the meeting, then you can share that. My name is Jenny Mojo. I'm a Clay County Commissioner, and I'm really excited to continue to be part of this dialogue. Clay County, as you know, is in the process of updating their county comprehensive plan. So there's some really great work that's going on with that. I'm also have a kindergartner at home, so you might be able to hear me right now. But anyway, MetroCog is working hard and diligently to make sure that that is addressed. I'll pitch that one to Beth. She's next on my list.
Good morning. I guess an announcement I would make is just that I participated in the First Fridays meeting. It focused on women in agriculture on March 5th, I believe it was. And I thought that was a great conversation. There was some great dialogue, and yeah, I thought that was a great meeting, and looking forward to the next one as well.
Deb, do you want to go?
Did you say Deb? Did you say me? Yep, I'd be happy to. I have really 2 updates, but I'm going to mostly touch on one because the first one was about the urban forest. So I'll wait and maybe add some things when Trent speaks about that, because I had been having some conversations with our city manager about it. But the other thing that came up at our last meeting that I've been working on is things related to our comprehensive plan. And so I had asked whether we could have somebody from this group added to the study review committee. And city manager Molly mentioned that they already have 20 people on it, and then 3 of them are ones that are tied in with the resiliency and sustainability. So that's Christine Holland, Sarah Hewitt, and Ken Foster. So he thought, those are folks that we're already collaborating with, but he did think that it would be possible to have somebody added to their resiliency focus group. And so if we wanted to have somebody, so I think, Jenny, I could leave it up to you and you could let me know, or if I don't know if you want to have the group to decide it, but we could, if we have a name, that I could pass on, we could probably have somebody added to that focus group.
Awesome.
But I think, yeah, that'd be a great way to just make sure. And besides that, I know Noel and some others participated in our public meeting, and we'll continue to have those, and I'll make sure we get the word out so that we can have good engagement when we have those opportunities for giving public input.
Well, I think the best way maybe to go about that is I think it would be important to have someone from Morehead part of that. And so if you are from Morehead or have a desire to join, why don't you hit up Deb in the chat during the meeting? And if we get to the end and we don't have someone, we'll appoint someone. So thanks, Deb. The Jeremiah, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I'm Jeremiah Utek. I represent entrepreneurial interests. Probably the things that are of immediate note is farmer market applications are open now. And we have seen or at least I have personally seen a surge in new cottage food businesses. So it's going to be an interesting year with that coming up. And yeah.
That is a good point. Maybe steering committee, if we want to have a little update on cottage food laws at our next one, that might be helpful if we have a bunch of new interests. Thank you. Commissioner Breitling?
Thank you. My name is Duane Breitling. I'm County Commissioner from District 4 in Cass County. We've been pretty busy the last 2 months with the legislature that's ongoing right now, and we have at least 2 a week meetings on virtue of pending legislation, problems with the counties as we see that in North Dakota, and that's been pretty much taking care of my spare time in the last 2 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Deb, would you like to go? Haugen? Sorry, you're on mute, Deb. You're on mute, Deb.
Sorry. My announcement would have to do with NOLA Storm's presentation later, so I will pass it to NOLA Storm when she speaks to us.
Noelle?
Hello, everyone. I'm Noelle Harden. I work with Extension. I guess thinking about Jeremiah's update, the Cascade Food Partners Steering Committee are planning to get more information out this spring to food producers, kind of building on the frequently asked questions guide that we developed last summer. So if there are specific questions, I do have some information I'm compiling around cottage foods in both states, because of course they have different cottage food laws. But if there's anything else that's coming up, Jeremiah or others, as you're hearing from people who might have questions as they're planning for the next growing season or anything related to local food regulations, we're happy to communicate with people directly if they have questions. We helped a farmer be able to navigate the regulations around opening up a new farm stand last summer, for example. So we're happy to help, and we can also include questions in our next round of the frequently asked questions guide that we'll have out sometime this spring.
Thank you. Janice?
Yes. So I'm Janice Tweet with the Great Plains Food Bank, and we are hiring quite a few positions right now. We do hiring for Chief Operating Officer, local truck driver, a new position that's going to be a perishable product coordinator to help us get more perishable food out to our entire service area. And then we are also hiring for a project coordinator to do some work specific to Standing Rock Reservation. So you can check out our website, greatplainsfoodbank.org, to learn more about those and share within your networks.
Thank you. Commissioner Kaylee?
Well, I am just an alternate on here, but I am a Clay County Commissioner and food is my love language, so I'm very happy to be here.
Kim Lepetsky?
Hi, I'm Kim Lepesky from Fargo Cass Public Health and one of the co-chairs of the Cass Clay Food Partner Steering Committee. And my announcement would be on the Boulevard Gardens, which I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you. Jeffrey Miller?
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Miller, Director of Cass County Soil Conservation District. So we're busy in our planning for tree plantings, grass seedings, and one particular thing is community garden grants. We have community garden grants for new and existing community gardens for infrastructure updates. So yeah, just check it on our website, and we're encouraging everybody to apply that has a community garden.
Thank you. Arlette Preston?
Yeah, we've been pretty busy watching the legislative session in Fargo as well. A lot of local control restrictions that we're watching very closely and responding to. Otherwise, the Sustainability and Resilience Committee just met for the first time. I think it was yesterday. I have not seen the video of it, but the agenda looked really full and it looks exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing the results there. And then finally, vector control for Cass County met last week and been getting a lot of interest from people in concerns about butterflies and other insects that are being affected by some of the chemicals that are being used. So I don't know exactly what happened at that meeting. I was not able to attend, but it did happen.
Thank you. Rory Beal?
Good morning, I'm Rory Beal with Clay County Public Health. And my lone update is that we've been working with Kim Lepesky as she's been helping to lead the effort on Boulevard Gardens in Fargo. So looking forward to hearing what she has to say this morning and furthering that important discussion about how to better use some of the green space we have in this case in Fargo.
Tim Hiller?
Hi, I'm Tim Hiller. I work at Churches United, and I'm a member of the steering committee. My lone update is, through our food pantries, the Dorothy Day food pantries, we're seeing an increased demand. We've had a 35% increase in the number of new households accessing our food pantries over the last year. So this is a constant need.
Thank you. Trent Wise?
Hi, my name is Trent Wise, Morehead City Forester. I will be speaking a little later on, I believe, about food forest that's going to be installed at M.B. Johnson Park in Morehead.
Thank you. Lynn Park?
Yeah, Lynn Park, and I'm with a new community medicinal garden that we're starting up in Dilworth that I'll address later.
Thank you. Jeff York?
Hi, Jeff York, RD Offit Company. Don't have anything at this point, at this time.
Thank you for being here. Taylor Sievertson?
Good morning. My name is Taylor Sievertson. I serve as the Impact Manager with the Great Plains Food Bank and also as the chair of the Cass Clay Hunger Coalition and on the steering committee for the Cass Clay Food Partners. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Rita is here.
Hi, I'm Rita Yasadis. I'm the Extension Agent in Family and Community Wellness in Cass County. I'm on the steering committee. A couple updates. I believe we still have junior master gardening grants available for youth programming this summer. I think they're due real soon. And we're really busy doing the pesticide recertification for restricted use chemicals. We had over 600 to recert this spring. So I'll be jumping off early because we start one at 11:30.
Thank you. Wolf? I'm not sure who that is. Wolf S?
I think that's Stan Wolf.
Yeah,
oh, perfect.
Stan Wolf with the
Sorry
about that. With the Cass County Weed Control, just here to see how things are going. If you have any questions regarding our control program, I'll be available.
Well, thank you for being here. Don B. Dawn, did you have an update you wanted to share? Okay. Well, glad you're here in the chat. Thanks for being a learner. Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Frank from the Clay County Planning and Zoning, and I am a new member of the steering committee, so excited to be here.
Thank you. Clara Bowman.
Hi, I'm Clara. I work with Prairie Roots Community Fund, and I'm just here to hear about all the cool initiatives going on.
And Jim.
I'm Ossis from Delaware City Council, just waiting for spring to come so we can open up our farmers market.
Well, welcome. Did I miss anyone? Nola, I'm sorry.
Hi, this is Nola Storm from Growing Together Community Garden, and I'm got some updates, so whenever that happens, I will tell you about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Wow, you guys are all involved in so many really cool things, and this is an inspiring group to be part of. So let's get started. Item number 3 will be our jurisdiction spotlight. Oh my gosh, sorry. The city of Dilworth has some really exciting things, and as you know, Jim Osnes has been on our board basically since the inception. And Lynn Park is here to provide a brief update on the Hope and Joy Medicinal Garden in Dilworth. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us today, and you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate being able to share with you what we're working on. I am the founder of the Hope and Joy Community Medicinal Gardens. And just a little background about myself so you understand where I'm coming from, and then we'll talk about the garden. But I have a master's degree in food science with a emphasis in nutrition, a minor in nutrition. And I worked 14 years in the food industry professionally, and then became a stay-at-home mom for about 20 years doing homeschooling, which everybody's learning to enjoy now. And while I was doing that, I did a lot of gardening and learning and studying and working on master herbalism courses and aromatherapy. And I was learning a lot and using it to help my family, but we'll get into that in a minute. I also have spent 12 years working with North Dakota VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disaster. So some of you I might have worked in that role from 2006 to 2018, representing LDS charities. So I got all the fun years of disaster response. And currently I am a volunteer on the Dilworth Park Board and am acting as their chair on the park board. So I own a business called Kanji Naturals, in which I grow and I produce herbal teas and sell those at farmers markets and other places. And I have a lot of people that ask me a lot of questions about, oh, can I grow this here? Or, oh, how did you know this would work? Or where did you find this? And it seemed to be a lot of common questions, people really interested in herbs. And I've taught a few classes as well. And I thought, you know, I like sharing. I love sharing the knowledge that I have. I spent years making products for my own family and friends, trying to help them with the different health issues we had. I have kids with a lot of neurological issues that we were working on. And I thought, I'd like to share this, and how do I do that? What avenue can I do that in? If you've ever studied some of these herbal use of herbs or growing herbs or teas or anything, you know that herbs are pretty expensive to order, and especially during the pandemic, you were lucky if you could find some if you wanted to make your own medicine. And the classes are expensive to learn as well. So I thought, why not start up a garden? So I went to the park board and asked what they thought. We have a park called Birch Tree Park, which is kind of by the trailer court there in Dilworth on the west side. And I asked if I could take part of that land there and turn it into a community medicinal garden. And I had all the support from the park board as well as the city council to do that. So last fall we dug the ground, made the space, and put in a few plants just to get started. And then we will be starting this spring on May 12th to, we're teaching about soil amendments. We have a class we're welcoming people to, and also starting to work the soil and get it ready for our garden. Let's see, make sure I'm staying on track. So I've had, as a board, we've started, you know, to do this. I knew I couldn't do it by myself. So we started up a board. So there's 5 of us right now. And our mission statement is that as a medicinal garden, we want to empower our communities by providing education on low-cost natural health alternatives and access to medicinal plants. We're exploring a 501c3 status as well. And we have our first class scheduled for May 12th. And then we will be meeting every Wednesday evening to work in the garden. And to every night, every Wednesday that we have a work day, we'll educate on a specific herb. And then we also have classes scheduled throughout the summer. Right now we have about 6 or 7 that we're going to doing that will cover anything from herbs that help with digestive health, or herbs that help with certain neurological conditions, or how to make a flower essence, or how to cook with herbs, and how to add herbs to your food to improve your health, how to forage, how to store your herbs, harvest your herbs, how to make tinctures, things like that. Well, we just have a whole slew of things that we could teach. We're just trying to narrow it down to what we'll do this year. Currently we have the land from Dilworth that we're using, and we'll be expanding that a little bit this spring. We've also talked with a farmer in Morehead who said that we could use his land as well when we want to expand. So there's ability to grow if this takes off. There's been a lot of interest. A lot of people have been communicating with me how much they want to participate or want to learn. We are specifically, our interest was trying to reach the communities that would have a harder time getting access to this or affording the education. And I know I have talked with some interns that were with Growing Together, and one happened to be, I can't remember her name now, but she was a Native American, and she was just so thrilled at how important this would be to her community, and wanted to be involved as well. So we're reaching out, we're trying to find ways to reach out to different economic status people, different ethnic cultures that would be interested in wanting to participate. So we are seeking some funding right now. It's pretty much between myself and the city of Dilworth covering costs. But we know we need some more plants, a water tank, a sign for our garden, and some wood for raised beds. We are looking at different funding sources to allow us to do that. So I don't know, that's kind of where we're going. I have a lot of, because I grow my own herbs, I have a lot that I can, of plants that I can, you know, I can transplant from my plants over, but I can't do everything because I still have a business to do. And so we're having a seed swap on March 20th over at Wild Terra to get it started, and looking for some people that will do some starts for us as well. So that's kind of an overshoot. Is that what you were looking for? Have any questions?
Very great. Anyone have questions for Lynn?
Lynn, do you have like a wish list of plants that you're looking for? There's a lot of gardeners that would probably be willing to donate or divide or share seeds. There's a lot of seed savers.
Yes, we do. And we put it out once on our Facebook group, but I need to do that again. And then if you know a place I could spread that, that'd be great too.
And how do we find that Facebook group?
It's called Hope and Joy Community Medicinal Garden. That's what it's called.
Thanks so much for the update, Lynn. This is really exciting, and it's clear that you have a lot of connections that you're making already. We'd be happy to share information, reshare stuff on our Facebook page and get the word out about your May 12th event and any other educational opportunities open to the public, maybe that list of herbs that you want. But now that we're connected, we'd love to help support in any way that we can with just getting the word out.
Great, thank you.
I know Jeff is on here from Cass County Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm not aware if the Clay County SWCD has any funds available for that grant, but it would be worth a call to inquire. Any other questions? If not, thank you, Lynn. We appreciate you presenting. Great topic. Our item number 4 would be incorporating food system language into planning documents. Adam is here and he is going to provide a brief presentation on the issue. Adam?
I'll just, thank you. Just share my screen here. Can you see the presentation all right?
Yep, yes. We see it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jenny. We've put together just a really short presentation this morning as a follow-up to the strategic planning exercise we had back in November, and the recommendation that we heard from you that our priority for 2021 is looking at ways to integrate food systems into different types of documents and planning efforts. And when we talk about these, the one that most readily comes to mind are comprehensive plans. And that's what we'll focus on today, especially with the 2 plans currently underway with Clay County and City of Morehead. But there are other documents where food systems can come into play, including sustainability plans, recreation plans, different neighborhood plans, and even corridor studies. So let's see here. A couple of things we'll touch on here. Just briefly, what is a comprehensive plan? How information makes it into these documents, how these actions or issues are then incorporated, and then some recent examples in the area of plans that have addressed food systems. And then last, just a couple of both state and national resources that we'll touch upon. So what is a comprehensive plan? These are really the guidebooks for cities and counties, and they use them to help them provide an overall direction on where communities are headed and what actions or issues are important. Each comprehensive plan is different, but they tend to address a wide variety of interconnected social, environmental, and economic issues within a community, looking at issues such as transportation, land use, housing, economic development, public health, natural resources, etc. And
Adam?
yes.
I'm really, really sorry to interrupt. We have only been seeing the first slide.
Oh no.
And I wasn't sure if you were trying to the slides.
Let me zoom out here. I apologize for that. I have it as a PDF, so I don't know if that's the issue or.
Can you scroll down with the bar on the right, maybe?
Let's see here. You would think after a year, we would have this all figured out.
There's always something goes wrong with Zoom.
Let's see here. Do you see anything different now or no?
Yes, now it's
Okay.
moving.
Okay.
Yep.
I apologize for that. Get my train of thought back here. So let's see. So addressing a wide variety of interconnect issues, while I guess also kind of providing what you could call a rationale behind community's overall development for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So, and I'll note here that comprehensive plans are not regulatory in and of themselves, but they do tend to serve as a policy framework that can then be used to develop, for example, community-based codes or ordinances for a community. So how do we know what to include? I think with each plan, it first starts out with meetings and conversations with local government staff, conversations with planning departments, engineering, economic development, public health, and city or county administration to kind of get the basis of, okay, what are some of the needs or issues that you're hearing from an administrative standpoint. But really, it's public input is key to getting additional issues identified and then incorporated into a planning document. And once that happens, they become part of that local government's guidebook, which then makes it easier for a jurisdiction to pursue an issue and make it become a reality. So once these issues are identified, how are topics incorporated into plans? Again, each plan is formatted differently and no two are alike. But normally, in addition to some background information issues and that a jurisdiction wishes to pursue, you will have some goals and objectives, which typically provide a framework for implementation of a comprehensive plan. Goals tend to describe desired results for a comprehensive plan's implementation, and objectives tend to be the specific purposes to advance an action toward a goal. But beyond this, you also have policies or recommendations that are more specific, and then an action or implementation step or implementation steps that tend to provide a timeline for when specific actions will happen, sometimes what entities are involved, what departments, what other organizations are involved, and then if there's a cost involved and what that might be. So in the past 9 years or so, a number of area comprehensive plans have begun to address food systems in one way or another. This began with GO 2030, the comprehensive plan for the city of Fargo, which was completed in 2012. It was the first to mention food as one of its guiding principles related to health, and also was the first to mention food waste and composting systems as part of its plan. Probably the most comprehensive comprehensive plan to address food systems, though, was the Cass County Comprehensive and Transportation Plan in 2018, which includes a number of implementation strategies related to urban agriculture and local food supply, as well as mentions about pollinator habitats and supporting those within the community. Also in 2018, you had Dilworth 2045, includes a recommendation to support sustainability efforts and local food opportunities. And then you also have West Fargo 2.0, which part of that plan looked at different sub-area studies within the community, and within one of those sub-area studies it did make a reference to support community gardens within that area. Another plan that was completed in 2019 was Castleton 2045, included a recommendation to support local and fresh food access opportunities. Also encouraging local food retailers to offer more fresh and seasonal produce year round. That was something that we heard as part of the public input process as part of that plan. And then lastly is Horst 2045, which was completed last year, which includes activities to improve healthy food access and advance economic development, as well as the support and establishment and maintenance of community gardens to provide residents with easy access to healthy food. So what resources are out there? There are three we thought we might touch upon briefly here. The first is from the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. It's the Municipal Strategies to Support Local Food Systems. It includes steps to include local food in comprehensive plans, as well as an urban agriculture ordinance toolkit to help a jurisdiction develop regulations for urban agriculture. Another plan it comes from the American Planning Association, and that's the Planning for Food Access and Community-Based Food Systems. This one has a good comprehensive national survey that has information on how food systems have been incorporated into comprehensive and sustainability plans around the country, and also has an evaluation matrix of how some of these strategies have been implemented. So that's another really good resources that we found here. And then last is the Minnesota Food Charter Network's Food Access Planning Guide, which we've noted a number of times before in previous meetings. Really includes good examples of goals and policies to incorporate food systems into land use, housing, transportation, economic development, and a number of other categories. And let's see, once I'm finished, I'll post links to these documents in the chat. But one last thing I'll note is that we have been working on a snapshot, which includes some of the information that we discussed here. We're looking to review that with the steering committee in the coming weeks and hope to bring it before the commission in May. But with that, happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Adam. Great update. I think it's really great that MetroCog is involved in so many different levels, because you're able to relay the concerns you hear during these meetings to those planning documents. And as we've seen with our snapshots that we've worked on with different municipalities from different states, maybe this will be a guiding document for other regions. Does anyone have any questions for Adam? Deb.
Thank you. Yes, Adam, I just wondered, what are you in communication with folks working on Morehead's comprehensive plan, and could this be some information that we make sure we could show, you know, examples of what other cities have done?
I attended the public input meetings that were held. I know others in our office are actually have been involved in some group discussions, including our executive director. But yeah, if you want us, we know a lot of the team that is working on the plan, so we can always connect with them, the team from Stantec. And if there's anything that you want us to directly respond to, we're happy to do that anytime.
Yeah, I think when I speak with City Manager Molly, I can mention that. I think just an added thing would be just having them see some of the things that have been done in other cities is always a useful, you know, use that as a starting point too. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? If not, those items that Adam referred to have now been added to the chat, so feel free to explore those links. Any other questions? Thanks again, Adam. We really appreciate it. Moving on to item number 5A then would be our Fargo Boulevard Garden Ordinance and Community Garden Resource Update. This is something that it seems like we talked about a lot longer, but it really hasn't been that long, maybe a year ago. So Kim, if you'd like to talk about the status of the Boulevard Garden Ordinance and update us on the community gardens of Fargo.
Okay, well, thank you. So I'm going to provide an update on a couple of items, the Boulevard Garden Ordinance of Fargo first, and then talk a little bit about the community garden resource that we are working on. First, the Boulevard Gardens. At the Food Commission meeting in January, I mentioned that this past December, the Fargo City Commission approved allowing Boulevard Gardens on a permanent basis. It had been temporary last year. We kind of did a pilot program to see how it would go. And at that meeting, they granted the Cass Clay Food Partners time to gather input from residents who have either participated in the temporary program last year or are interested in doing a garden, Boulevard Garden in the future. Plus get input from experts in the field, such as Jeff Miller has contributed some to the conversation on our food commission here, who works for the Soil Conservation District in Cass County, as well as extension staff. Then to work with city staff and the city attorney to draft a permanent ordinance to bring back to the Fargo City Commission this spring for consideration. And when we were at the meeting in December, the City Commission also asked if we could simplify the process somewhat to make it easier for residents to do this. So over the past few months, we've been gathering input. We held a public input meeting the middle of February. We had about 20 some people participate and had some good discussion on some of the stipulations that were currently in the temporary policy. We've been reaching out to other cities who allow Boulevard Gardens to kind of review their ordinances. I've talked to 3 different cities to kind of see how they work through some of these things. We've also been talking with city staff who would be impacted by this, engineering, forestry, planning, just to make sure we can get everybody on board or at least come to some kind of consensus with some of the stipulations. So I'm not going to go into grave detail about it with all the stipulations in the ordinance, but the areas that we hope to change from the temporary ordinance last year, this upcoming year, is to first take out the requirement to have a permit to just do a basic boulevard garden. Last year, anybody who had a boulevard garden had to fill out an application for a permit, send in a drawing, show proof of insurance, list the city as additionally insured, sign a detailed terms and conditions, and so on. And every community that we talked with, including conversations with Sioux Falls and Minneapolis and St. Paul, don't require a permit. So not requiring a permit would simplify the process for both residents as well as city staff. And instead any of these stipulations would just be written into the ordinance, and the homeowner, by planting a boulevard garden, would need to agree to what is in the ordinance or listed out in the ordinance. Another area that we've been hearing a lot of comments on was the plant height maximum that we had in the temporary ordinance last year. And what that means is how high you can allow the plants to get on the boulevard, but still maintain the sight line and the safety for pedestrians and bicyclists and motorists. Currently allowed in the temporary policy from last year was a 24-inch height maximum. We plan to propose raising this to 36 inches, except within certain distances from intersections, driveways, and alleys. And so we are currently working on some of these, what these distances will be. Our research is showing that pretty much every community that allows boulevard gardens does allow a 36-inch maximum height. And the other issue that we've been hearing a lot about is allowing raised beds on the boulevard. We're planning to ask for this to be allowed. However, we're currently working on the parameters that would be around this, like how high could these be? How far will they be set back from the curb and the sidewalk and the driveway and so forth. So we've been talking with engineering, and this might be one area that if residents want to do that we might need to permit, but we're still working out some of those parameters around that. So we're continuing to work with city staff, the city attorney on drafting the ordinance. We're hoping to have it ready sometime end of March, early April to bring back to the Fargo City Commission for discussion and hopefully approval with some of the proposed changes to it. And then we'll just work through the steps to make it permanent. So that's currently where we're at with the Fargo ordinance. Arlette, I do plan to be in touch with you sometime soon about this, just to make sure you're aware of what is going to be proposed in there, and any insight or input that you might have would be appreciated. We're still working with city staff to get consensus on a few of these areas. So the maximum plant height, I think we're kind of in agreement with that now, and then looking at the raised beds and figuring out what stipulations around those. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Let me know. I thank Rory and Erica for providing some input into some of this work as well. We've had some residents who have also been a great resource for us, and some master gardeners as well to help us out. So,
Kim, if I could just say, I'm thrilled to hear that you're simplifying the process. That's great. Glad to hear that you've shed some of the requirements.
Oh, I know. Some of them were even reading it, they were very scary. So hopefully, just for a basic boulevard garden, to put a couple plants on the boulevard, we really wanted to simplify that. So yeah, so I'll be in touch with you too to let you know what we got planned. So
okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
I'm just glad to hear you're changing that height requirement too, because there's not a lot of edible garden plants that you can plant that are going to be under 2 feet. So
no, and that's what we're finding out. It will open up opportunities for plants to plant on the boulevard if we can raise it up a little bit, and then but still maintain the sight line. So so that people are safe as well. So thank you.
I see Deb White has a question.
Yes, thanks. Kim, could you just briefly touch on, obviously I'd like to know, a little more how this compares to what we're doing in Morehead, in case we could maybe tag on and use you as a good example. So can you talk about how that differs from what we currently do in Morehead, and, just that.
Yeah. Well, when we did this last year, we were under kind of a time crunch. We didn't decide to do it until into May. So we basically adopted Morehead's policy. So that is what our temporary one was last year. This year then, the height requirements in Morehead is 24 inches versus now we're trying to go up. And we have been in touch. I know Noel has been in touch with, I think it was the forester maybe, or somebody in the city. And he said they're going to kind of keep an eye on what's happening in Fargo, and then maybe there's that possibility that we can make a few changes in the Morehead one as well as we move forward with it. So, yeah.
I can just pop in really quick. I mentioned in the chat, one difference is that Morehead has a $40 permit fee, and Fargo did not include a permit fee, and we're not looking at that moving forward. And we did invite the city of Morehead to attend our public input event, and Forrest was there, as well as Gabrielle. Thanks for the question, Deb.
Anything else? I just want to say, Kim, that you've really done a great job with this, spearheading this. It's not like you have had anything else going on in public health in the last year. So this just shows how much of a rock star you are, that in the middle of an enormous pandemic, you still have the energy to put this on a burner. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's amazing what goes into just putting a few plants on the boulevard. There's a lot of things to consider, so thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the community garden resource list Every year, the Food Partners kind of compiles and updates community garden opportunities throughout Cass and Clay County. And we include both types of community garden lists. One is the gardens where you rent a plot for a small fee and garden it by yourself. And the other is one that we call, or that I call, communal type gardens, where you work as a team, such as the Growing Together Gardens, which we're going to hear from in just a minute. But on this list, we include the garden name, location, contact information, and so on. So if a resident is looking for a place to garden, they can see what their options are and then follow up with the person in charge of that garden. And Lynn, I am going to add the medicinal garden. I don't have that on there yet. So we're still in the process of finalizing a couple of pieces to the 2021 community garden list. So we'll be adding that, as well as a couple other ones that we're trying to get some final input on. And then these lists are put on, we have a let'seatlocal.org website. We also have metroinmotion.org, which under the Eat Smart tab is going to be listed. And then those sites are linked through our Cass Clay Food Partners website. And then Food of the North, one of our partners, also takes this information and puts it on a easy to read format on their website. So that's another place to find it. So we pull these together every year, and we also do the same thing for community supported agriculture, those opportunities in our community, the local farmers markets in the upcoming season, as well as places to donate in Cass and Clay counties. So we do lists for those as well, and those can be found on the same websites that I just mentioned. So just to give you a heads up, those are going to be coming out soon.
Thank you. And there's also some really great conversation in the chat happening. So let's continue to have those discussions offline. Anything else for Kim? If not, we'll move to item 5B, which would be the Morehead edible forest. Excuse me. Trent Wise from Morehead, he's a Morehead City Forester, is here with us today to provide an update on the edible forest project at MB Johnson Park. Welcome, Trent.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present. So this project is being executed by the Ecosystems Work Group that is part of the Morehead Resilience Task Force and is funded through a Bush grant. Some partners of this include City of Morehead, Cass County, River Keepers, MSUM, Concordia, as well as some other partners. The project is to install a food forest at MB Johnson. A food forest can also be called an edible forest or an orchard. It's just a collection of plants that, when established, will produce food. The food forest at MB Johnson will involve 100 trees, 40 shrubs. Species planted will include 70 apple trees, 15 plum trees, 15 pear trees, 10 aronia or chokeberry shrubs, 16 honeyberry shrubs, and 15 juneberry shrubs. The food forest will be open to all. It's public food in a public space. We have started planning an Arbor Day event to install the plants. We're looking at May 13th, which is a Thursday, and right now I think times are from 1 to 6. As part of this planning, we'll be taking COVID-related precautions, having volunteers social distance as much as possible, and bring their own tools to reduce any possible transmission. One of the concerns, we put out a survey a while in January, and one of the common concerns was possible wildlife damage to some of these plants. We're going to utilize a couple different methods to reduce this from happening. We'll use tree guards on each tree. I'll be using a 4-foot fence around each tree, with like a 5-foot area around each tree. We'll be using the fence for shrubs, as well as using a hardware mesh cloth around each tree to prevent any bolt damage. The trees will be maintained by the forestry division. We'll water the plants at least once a week for the first 2 to 3 years. We'll maintain the mulch area to make sure there isn't excessive weed growth. Prune trees every 3 years for the first 15 years of their life. We'll also evaluate some of these time ranges to see if they need to be altered at all. I think it's possible that we may need to prune them a little more. After the first 3 years, they'll probably need a good 2 to 3 years at least to get established. Once they establish, so they can grow pretty rapidly. So we might need to prune them every other year. We'll just have to wait and see. It'll take roughly 2 to 3 years for the shrubs to bear fruit. Some of the trees should bear fruit after, I would say 4 to 5 years, while others may take 7 to 10 years. Once the apple trees produce regularly, we expect each apple tree to produce 10 to 40 pounds each growing season. I'm not certain on production of plums, pears, and some of the berry bushes. I looked at a project that NDSU has. They have a fruit production project in Carrington, North Dakota, and they have some really excellent reports for fruit production from the different plants they have there. And it seems like it really varies upon temperatures and other climatic conditions. So I don't have a great estimate on some of the production of the pears, plums, and the bushes. One of the major reasons for this project was, of course, the fruit production for the community. But some other considerations were utilizing the space. It's currently used. It's currently just turf, so it's just a big open area. So we thought it would be great to utilize that space in another form. And the space is also, I think, 39 feet elevation, so it won't get flooded regularly, which is another reason we chose that location. And then these plants are also good for pollinators, and this food forest will also provide opportunities for community events in the future, possible pruning events to teach homeowners proper pruning methods. And there's, if everything goes well, there's also the opportunity to increase it up there because there is so much land in that area. We'll also be including some signage talking about different species, benefits, and proper harvesting habits. And that's all I got.
Very cool. I remember as a child picking apples at that South Fargo site, and that was really a neat thing available. I see that Deb White has a question.
Great, thank you. So Trent, I know I brought this up when you presented to City Council, the issue of accessibility for, MB Johnson is not the easiest place to get to, and particularly for folks that may have transportation issues. And again, the people that might benefit most if they're, struggling with food insecurity. And so I did follow up with Dan Molly about that. And I think he spoke with your group, with the committee about it. And tell me if I'm correct on this, that maybe we're looking at this as not an either or, like have MB Johnson, but also look at some smaller food forests that might be more centrally located. And I don't know if you could, talk a little bit about what conversations have been happening around that, if that might be something that'll come in this phase or could come in a next phase. But looking at, we've got places right here in town where we've got some public land that we could perhaps do some smaller things there. He also mentioned that, we have places around some of the schools that have fruit-bearing trees and shrubs. And it reminded me that that there was a former resident who I know Noelle knows because she lives in his house now, who was looking at sort of mapping out. There are places that we already have that have fruit-bearing trees and bushes that people may not be aware of, and that could be something as a tangential, project to map that out and make it available to let people know where some of those things are. But I wondered if you could talk about that issue of what conversations are happening about maybe doing really some smaller food forests in more central locations.
Yeah, so that was a common theme of the survey that we put out as well. So I guess what we've looked at is with this initial install of this food forest, I think this is a pretty big project. So it's not something that I want to commit to for this year, but we have already identified a couple locations around town. One is at Romkey Park, and then the other one is at Woodlawn. There's a recycling area there, and there's some open area next to that. So we've looked at installing some smaller orchards or food forests or whatever you want to call them in those areas. And if we could, I don't know if we're going to have funding still through this Morehead Resilience Task Force, but if we could secure some funding, that's something we could pursue next year or the year after. And we could also use that as a way to kind of keep some of that enthusiasm and interest we have right now. Because, another point that's been brought up is that these plants aren't going to bear fruit for a while. So we have a lot of interest right now, but how do we maintain that interest? So that could potentially be a way to maintain some of that interest as well. And then to your second point, we do have some areas around town. I think there's 3 or 4 of the public schools. There's apple trees, and there might be some shrubs as well. So we have talked about trying to, I guess, get a better understanding of who's able to use those spaces and trying to get them all compiled into a centralized location and shared somewhere where they'll be easy for people to access.
Yeah, I would think something like that, just having a map that people could, that was publicly available that people could go to. Because I see it every year that there's actually, I live, between Concordia and MSUM, and there are, in those older neighborhoods, there's several places that, around campus. There's a great tree in the Comstock, the yard of the Comstock house that, many years the fruit falls and rots. And so, if there was an opportunity to use things like that, I think it'd be great.
Any other questions? I think it would also be helpful to have, when you go on hikes and they have the signage, the big plastic where you can look and research and learn. That would be helpful as well to get a layout of the trees and what fruits and approximate blooming dates. Any other questions? Thank you. This is a really great addition to our community, and it will be exciting to see what fruits it bears. Sorry. Thanks, Trent. Item number 5C would be the Cass County pesticide update and additional gardening resources. Noelle has a brief update from Cass County Weed Control, as well as gardening resources in Morehead. Noelle.
And I will keep this short. Regarding the Cass County weed control or pesticide issue, first of all, I want to say a huge thank you to Stan Wolf, who's here today. Stan came and presented about a year ago because our network became interested in what pesticides and herbicides are being used on public land. And so Stan has shared information with our network. He also has communicated with Kim and I about potential new garden sites in Cass County. And we had a really great meeting, I think it was last month sometime, and just learned a little bit about how we can continue to stay in communication around this topic. And I will, if you're still on, Stan, I'll let you share any information that you would like. We are planning the Cass Clay Food Partners to work with Stan and develop some communication around kind of planning and how folks can get in touch with Cass County Weed Control if they have questions about what herbicides have been used and where. Some information on identifying noxious weeds that gardeners should be on the lookout for, connecting with our great extension resources and the pesticide application trainings and whatnot, and then links with more information. So we really view this issue as a great opportunity for us to be in communication and for our network to share if we know, for example, that there might be a new farm incubator site or a new community garden site where they would really want to know what has been applied in the past. And then one last thing Stan mentioned, and maybe you could say more about, is that there's been a change in some of the products applied in the more residential areas. And the product—
Come on.
Oh, Jim, I think you're unmuted there. The products that have kind of the longer soil residual that was a concern for new garden sites. From what I understand, you're not using those same products in the same areas. But Stan, if you would like to share anything else around that, we'd love to hear whatever you have to share.
Okay, thank you. Yes. We're working with products that we're using in the areas that would potentially be used for garden sites. We're going with more of the traditional lawn applied products for weed control. That the Cass County Commission have asked me to work on those sites, especially in the urban areas, residential areas, to control the lawn weeds, to make the county a good neighbor to the residents in those areas. So we're using products that are typically lawn applied, Trimix type product that do not have a long soil residual. And so that's what we're using. And if there are any other areas that are considered, want to be considered for urban garden plots, definitely get a hold of me and we'll look and see what has been used on those county parcels, and then work to that'll help plan the program for those community gardens. So main concern is to be the products we're using are safe for the environment, safe for that location, and do a good job of controlling those troublesome and noxious weeds. And if anybody has questions, certainly can get a hold of me and we'll work through the process. That would be all I'd have to add at this point.
Any questions for myself or for Stan around that?
Really good update. Thank you for having the information available to citizens. I think that's the most important piece out of all of it. Any other questions? If not, we'll move into item 5D, our Growing Together update. Deb Haugen is on our board and on steering committee, and she's here to introduce Nola Storm, who was recently presented with the Fargo MLK Human Relations Award for her work in fostering community relationships through Growing Together. Welcome.
I'd like to recognize and welcome my friend and coworker, Nola Storm, from the community, the Growing Together Community Gardens. And yes, she was nominated for and received the Martin Luther King Day Human Relations Award this year that is presented to people who promote respect and acceptance for diversity, and they help to eliminate discrimination, and who do the work that embody Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. Nola is someone who worked for the Fargo Public Schools as a social worker for the school district in English language learner programs. She taught adult English classes, to adult learners, and she did language assessments and home visits to many of our new American families. So based on that, Nola saw a lot of loneliness and loss in those families. So back in 2005, addressed a program that could help welcome new Americans. That program started at Olivet Lutheran Church, was to bring people together and garden. And it could build friendships, it could meet the needs of some of those new American families, and it could outreach to people in our community, not just new Americans. So for Nola, growing together means community to her. It brings people together to work side by side, growing food, as well as developing friendships. I've seen it as a wonderful way for people that Nola introduced me to, who I never would have gotten to know. And that's one of the things that Nola is good at, is helping to establish friendships between people who may not have known each other before. For a lot of our new Americans, it provided them with the opportunity to garden because they may have been farmers in their home communities. So I welcome my wonderful, caring friend, Nola Storm, to speak to us on Growing Together Gardens.
Well, gee, that was nice. Thank you, Deb. And thank you, everybody. I mean, it's very humbling to have received the award, because growing together is about so many people and so many things. But like Deb said, I think the reason it was started in the first place was to bring people together. It was to address people having a chance to meet people that they would not have a chance to meet, and to feel safe and to feel comfortable. And it just so happened that it became a garden, and I'm so grateful that it did. And I'm so grateful for Jack Wood and all the other folks who have been involved, because it's helped to grow and expand from just one group of 8 families and a handful of folks from our church to being multi-gardens, multi-congregations, other groups that have become involved with us, in the partnerships, like with the Park District and Jeff at Soil Conservation and the city and so many things. It's kind of overwhelming. So I was willing to accept the award because it wasn't just me. It was that whole group of people that have done such good things and have cared about each other. And I've also grown some really good food and expanded that ability to share that, not just with our families, but with other groups who may need it. And so I thank you, and it's humbling, and I do believe that one way that we can carry on the legacy of Dr. King is to know each other, is to learn each other's stories, and to work side by side, and stop seeing each other as other, but seeing each other as just a person that I can partner with to grow food and work side by side. And so anyway, but thank you so very much, and I appreciate the opportunity to share about what we've got going on. There is a slide that I don't know who can put it up, that's got the garden dates and times and places that I turned in.
I'll get that up in a second.
Okay,
Sorry.
great, thank you. Because I don't know how to do that. But anyway, like I said before, we started with one small garden at the corner of 25th and 17th Street, and we all know that became eventually property was sold, and it now is low-income senior housing, which is a wonderful, amazing thing for a space to become, because we always wanted it to, that place to remain a place where it took care of people. So we're able to partnership with other places now. We're at the Arbors, which used to be community homes. We have Dr. Susan Matheson has graciously allowed us to garden on both sides of her business. We partnered with this Park District, and we're over at the World Garden next to the Y on 42nd. We were partnered with First United Methodist Church, which is on the corner of 40th Avenue and 25th Street, and with Lutheran Social Services, that is just south of West Acres. Now, a couple of these places are in flux. We got thrown for a loop when LSS closed down. So we don't know yet what's going to happen there, but we're going to proceed as though we will continue to garden there, with the thought that if we need to transition our families to other gardens, maybe go to the World Garden and hopefully find homes at other gardens, we would do that. Because of the pandemic, which everybody felt hard, it got hit hard. Our New Americans, our immigrant community, was very reluctant to come out. And so it was slow going this last year, but we put in a lot of things in place that we will continue to do this year. We will continue to practice social distancing, mask, and be as safe as possible. We are very grateful that because everybody worked so hard to be so safe, we had nobody linked to our garden that was sick. And so that was very important to us. And some of our families did start trickling back towards the end of summer because they felt safer and actually missed being there, which I totally get that, because boy, you miss it when you're not there. So we are not sure what's going to happen with that LSS space. So we're just, like I said, if you see that we have times there, the Market Garden is at the corner of 25th and 40th Avenue. And that runs differently than our other gardens, like what Kim said, we're communal style, where you show up together, you work together, you share together. The Market Garden helps to provide the things that we need for our plant or our market sale. That helps us continue on as we are. And the volunteers that show up there, and it can be anybody, you can either be part of one of our other gardens or not, but you show up there and you work for a voucher that you turn in at the vegetable sale. And so your time equals the amount of food that you are able to purchase with a voucher. So it's been a really great way for people to participate that could do it at times other than a family garden, or didn't want to be part of a sharing garden because maybe too many people or just the time didn't work for them. So that is still an opportunity. And we are now 501c3. We've been there that way for a year, which has been quite a transition for us to think about it, but we think it's been a good thing. We now have not just a Facebook page, which I do invite everybody to look us up. Growing Together, a community garden ministry, like us, share us. Then also it's Growing Together, gardenfm.org, all lowercase. So look us up, and people can sign up. We've had some good connections with people that way from California, even looking to start something like a Growing Together, which is like, that's so great that people are liking the style that we're doing it. Some of our interns, Gabrielle and Josiah, and I don't know if they'll probably maybe be part of this at some point talking about what they're doing, but they're starting a similar style of garden at Island Park next to the skate park. And so find out from them what they're doing and if people want to be involved. But you'll notice we have different times of day. We have 10 to 12 for the Market Garden in the mornings. Our LSS garden is currently 2:30 to 4:30. And we have the family garden, which is another great thing. Kathleen Johnson and Nancy Allen and a few of our other gardeners. I know Deb has been involved with that, and Micheline, but they work with full families. So people can come with their children and sign up, and it's a learning, teaching garden. So you're not just gardening together to bring home produce, but you and your children are learning how to be a gardener. So it's growing that next generation of gardeners. So there still are openings for that. I know Catalyst West is full, and that's a split garden. We did splits at Catalyst West and Catalyst East so we could practice that safe distancing with people, and it's worked out really well. One thing I think I've been grateful for is, like Jack likes to say, many hands make light work. You get a lot of people together and do the work, but you also have a lot of people's minds and expertise that can help you figure out how to manage in something like a pandemic. how to make it safe for people and still have people be able to participate. Your time is your share. You know, the amount of time you put in, you work up towards getting a full share, and that is all divided according to the number of people that are there for the day. And anything that's left over is donated. We've donated to many different places, many thousands of pounds of food, which has been a real blessing for us to be able to do that. I'm trying to think. We mentor other gardeners, other gardens. We've helped other organizations, churches start gardens. And what we like to do is have someone from their garden come and work with us for a year and learn. And so they can take that back to share how we do things. We do have a toolkit. It's a print version that people can download off of our Facebook page if they're interested in learning how we function. All of our bedding plants are grown in the basements and homes of some of our gardeners that work at to Growing Together, which has been quite an incredible thing when you think about it, that we don't have to go out and purchase bedding plants, but people are growing them in their homes. And many of our core leaders have become master gardeners, which has been a really good resource for us and for our other gardeners to help learn and teach. We get interns through farms, and we have in the past from the city and from Prairie Roots. So we're looking at, you know, different ways to bring young people, and not necessarily just young people, but people who are interested in learning how to garden and share their expertise and our passion and knowledge with each other. We do have a plant sale in the spring. So that helps us also fund for each year to help us purchase equipment and things like that. We save seeds. I know, Jen, I believe you're part of the Seed Savers, Tomato Seed Savers group. Jack has been saving tomato seeds for decades and has started a Tomato Seed Saver group. And so that's been a really big thing. And so the seeds are saved and they're used to start the plants. We will have posted our transplant opportunities that we will have. We have transplant days at the Catalyst West location, and that information will be out there on the Facebook page and on the website. People can show up. You don't have to be one of our gardeners to do it, but you can show up and help. You can learn, and then all those things go into the greenhouses on that property to be nurtured and babied along until they're ready to be out and planted in the ground. So if you have any questions, please look us up. We would love to have. We're hoping to do more outreach in the immigrant community. I know last year was scary for them, and so we're wanting to make sure people feel comfortable to get back into public social situations. So anyway, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate what this group does to make us a healthier, safer community. Thank you.
Very awesome. Thank you so much, Nola. Thank you so much, Deb. I just wish that I had a set of friends as great as you two. You do wonderful things. Any other questions for them on that? Great. Jenna?
Sorry. All of the Growing Together gardens are in North Dakota, correct, Nola? Is there any movement towards growing across to the other side of the river?
There could be if we got partners who are willing to come and learn and then manage and run it. It gets to be very exhausting for our core group, you know, to go out and like, okay, sure, we'll just manage a garden. And that doesn't really do us any good to do that if we're not helping other groups to be able to, because each garden has its own personality. I mean, we do have guidelines that we like to follow that help us, but each garden, you know, like I said, has its own personality. But we'd love to mentor if there is a group that has space and wants to do it. Certainly connect with us. We'd like to find more places in areas where people live because transportation has always been a thing. You know, when we first started growing together, the Olivet Church bus drove. And then after that bus got too old and died, then First United Methodist bus drove. And it got to be too difficult for us to do that. So that did create a barrier. I know people do use public transportation, and families do help their elders get there when they can. But to be in a perfect world, we would be located in neighborhoods where people could take the bus or walk, especially at the end of the season when you're carrying home 40, 50 pounds of potatoes and tomatoes and all those things. But so finding places where a garden like this could exist in neighborhoods where people live, especially where apartments are, where low-income families are, and you get people to work together and you know each other, and it makes those neighborhoods and those communities more connected too, not just giving them access to food and exercise, which is very important, but gives people access to other people. And I think that's a very important thing, especially now.
And Jenna, I think that there are 2 gardens south of the interstate, one through the Presbyterian Church and one through the Baptist Church, that are community gardens.
And they were mentored, yeah.
Yes, they were mentored by our groups, and there were interns there and such. So there are at least those 2 gardens in Morehead.
Right. I was going to just add, thank you for that, Deb. And Jenna, just to kind of respond to that, and Nola, this is Mary Larson. We worked really closely with Jack Woods and Nola and their leadership team, and we have such a beautiful partnership. So the garden is called Grateful Garden. It's a neighborhood community garden on 5th Street in South Morehead, in just a really high need neighborhood in Morehead. And our garden coordinator goes to the Growing Together garden and serves as a sort of intern with them, and then brings their learning, their understanding, their knowledge to our garden and coordinates all the efforts, in addition to working at the Morehead Farmers Market and some other things too. So we're really connected and just have really benefited, and it's a mutual benefit, and there's a win-win, and it's just beautiful. So I appreciate those efforts.
Thank you. Well, certainly if there's networking to be done, I think there's many people around this table that can help have those conversations, so we can continue to look for appropriate space in Morehead if needed. Thank you very much, guys. Our next item would be item 6. I know we're butting up against the end of our time, so I'm sorry about that, but I feel like we've had some really great dialogue today. Item 6 would be our public comment opportunity. Is there anyone here wishing to speak from the public on any item? Seeing none, we do have avenues for people to communicate with us on our Facebook page or emails. So those are published. So if anyone has comments, they can reach us there as well. Item number 7 would be our commission and steering committee roundtable. I feel like we've had some fairly good updates at the beginning. The only piece that I wanted to maybe say is Commissioner Kaylee had sent a topic idea to me earlier, and if I can find it, she said Cashwise in Morehead is participating in a program to turn food waste that is not donatable into fertilizer product for ag. Is this something we could learn about at a future meeting? And then Janice had mentioned a little bit about something at the Great Plains Food about food waste, and I think that would definitely be a topic that as a steering committee we might want to tackle a little bit. Any other items from the steering committee that I may have missed?
I just wanted to share really quick, we got some exciting news that a journal article that we wrote about our network's work during COVID was accepted for publication in the Journal of ag, food systems, and community development, and we will make sure it gets sent out to everyone when it's fully published and available.
Great work. Any other pieces? Item 8 would be then our commission action steps. Our next first Fridays would be April 2nd. We don't have the details on a topic yet, but if you haven't had the opportunity to tune into that, that's a really vibrant discussion that I have learned a lot about. So make sure to follow the Facebook page for that. And then our next food commission meeting would be May 12th. We are still operating under the understanding that that will be virtual. So we'll let you know if anything changes on that front. Any other items that I may be missing? If not, thank you for your patience with my children as they've been quite vocal today. And the promise of spring is upon us, so I hope you all have a great couple months, and we will touch base when we see you. Stay well.